The kingdom of Aeridor was a symphony of scents. From the sweet jasmine that climbed the palace walls to the rich myrrh that burned in the temples, every aspect of life was perfumed. In Aeridor, fragrance was more than mere adornment. It was a language, a symbol of status, and a testament to one's favor with the gods. A person's scent could open doors to powerful alliances or seal them shut forever. Upon this fragrant stage reigned Queen Aurelia, a monarch as beautiful as the rare moon petal blossom. But a year into her rule, a vile curse befell her. A putrid odor, a miasma of decay and bitter herbs, clung to her like a shroud, defying the most potent perfumes and the most rigorous of baths. The court, once enchanted by her presence, now recoiled. In hushed, cruel whispers, she became known as the stinking queen. Her public appearances became a torment. Doused in heavy oils and clutching sachets of lavender and rose, she was a walking contradiction, a queen of a fragrant kingdom who smelled of death. The most ambitious of her courtiers, the devastatingly handsome Lord Valerius, saw her affliction as a divine sign. Leader of the powerful Rose Guild, he believed a monarch's scent was a reflection of their right to rule, and Aurelia's, he argued, was a stench of illegitimacy. Beside the queen stood Alara, her handmaiden and confidant since childhood. Unwavering in her loyalty, Alara was one of the few who could bear the queen's presence without flinching, her steadfastness a small comfort in Aurelia's isolated world. It was Alara who encouraged the queen to seek a solution beyond the perfumers and physicians who had so spectacularly failed. Driven by desperation, Aurelia delved into the royal archives, her nights spent poring over ancient, dust-laden texts. There, in a forgotten chronicle, she found it, a mention of a long-dead queen who had suffered a similar fate, a curse linked to a flower of mythical malevolence, the corpse lily. The texts hinted at a cure, but the knowledge was fragmented. Encoded in the cryptic language of alchemy. There was only one man in the kingdom who might decipher it, Master Theron, an alchemist of prodigious talent who had been banished for his unorthodox and often dangerous experiments. His tower, a crooked finger of stone pointing accusingly at the sky, stood in the heart of the blighted wastelands, a place few dared to tread. With Alara's help, Aurelia slipped out of the palace under the cloak of darkness. Her journey was fraught with peril. Lord Valerius, ever watchful, had his spies throughout the kingdom, and the queen's absence would not go unnoticed for long. She found Theron in his cluttered laboratory, a place of strange and wonderful stinks. He was a man as gnarled as the ancient herbs he worked with, his eyes sharp in the praising. He was initially dismissive of her plea, his heart soured by years of exile. But the queen's fierce determination and the sheer audacity of the curse intrigued him. "This is no simple curse," he rasped, after examining a lock of the queen's hair, which even detached carried the foul odor. "It is a slow-acting poison, woven into your very essence. It will not only taint your scent, but will eventually consume you." The alchemist revealed the chilling truth. The only antidote was a potion derived from the living heart of a corpse lily, a flower that bloomed for a single night once a decade under the light of a full moon. In the treacherous Shadowfen swamps. As Aurelia and Theron prepared for their perilous quest, Lord Valerius made his move. He unveiled a new perfume of his own creation, an intoxicating blend that seemed to bend the will of those who inhaled it. The court, already swayed by his charisma, fell further under his spell. He began to publicly question the queen's sanity, her foul odor a sign, he claimed, of a corrupted mind and soul. His plan was simple: to have her declared unfit to rule at the upcoming Festival of Blossoms, the most sacred event in the Aeridorian calendar. The Shadowfen swamps were a place of nightmare. Vicious, foul-smelling beasts drawn to the swamps. Dark energy lurked in the murky waters. The very air was thick with a cloying sweetness that masked the scent of decay. Here, Aurelia's curse became a strange advantage, her own odor repelling some of the swamp's more sensitive predators, while the queen and the alchemist navigated the treacherous landscape. Ilara worked tirelessly within the palace walls. She became Aurelia's eyes and ears, her loyalty a sharp counterpoint to the perfumed treachery of the court. She gathered whispers of Valerius's conspiracy, her bravery a silent act of rebellion. On the night of the full moon, they found it. Corpse lily, its petals the color of bruised flesh, unfurling in the eerie moonlight. But as they reached for it, they were ambushed. Lord Valerius, his eyes gleaming with triumph, emerged from the shadows, his guards at his side. A desperate battle ensued. Theron, with his alchemical concoctions, created diversions of smoke and fire, while Aurelia, to everyone's surprise, proved to be a skilled swordswoman, her movements precise and deadly. In the chaos, she managed to slice the heart from the corpse lily, its petals wilting almost instantly. They raced back to the capital, the city alive with the fervor of the Festival of Blossoms. They arrived at the throne room just as Lord Valerius was making his final impassioned speech, his voice dripping with false concern as he called for the queen's abdication. Aurelia, having consumed the antidote on the journey back, strode into the hall. The oppressive odor that had plagued her for so long was gone, replaced by her natural scent, a delicate fragrance of wildflowers and rain. A collective gasp rippled through the assembled court. With a clear voice and unshakable resolve, she exposed Valerius's treachery, presenting the evidence Ilara had gathered. She revealed the truth of the curse. It was not a divine judgment, but a poison, a tool of a generations-long plot by Valerius's family to seize the throne. The high priestess, her face a mask of horror at her own unwitting complicity, publicly renounced her support for the treacherous lord. The court, their senses no longer clouded by Valerius's intoxicating perfume, saw him for what he was, a traitor. He was seized by the royal guards, his dreams of a fragrant empire turning to ash. Queen Aurelia, no longer the stinking queen, ruled for many years, her reign marked by a wisdom and strength forged in the crucible of her affliction. She had learned a valuable lesson, that the true measure of a ruler and a person was not the scent they wore, but the courage and integrity they held within. And in the kingdom of Aeridor, the legend of the queen who had overcome a foul curse became a timeless story of hope, a reminder that even the most unpleasant of odors can give way to the sweet scent of victory. The cheers that had erupted upon Lord Valerius's arrest had faded, replaced by the uneasy quiet of a kingdom waking from a fever dream. The throne was secure, the immediate threat vanquished, but the soul of Aeridor remained deeply scarred. The sweet air of the capital was now laced with the bitter tang of suspicion. Queen Aurelia, her natural scent a gentle reminder of her victory, knew that curing her own affliction was only the beginning. The poison of conspiracy had seeped deep into the foundations of her court. Her first act was not one of vengeance, but of radical reform. She summoned the leaders of the various perfumer guilds, the Sandalwood Collective, the Citrus Syndicate, and the remnants of the once mighty Rose Guild. Instead of disbanding the disgraced guild, she broke its monopoly. By royal decree, the creation of scents for the court would no longer be the purview of a single entity. A council of guilds would now serve the palace, their competition fostering innovation and their shared power preventing anyone from becoming too influential. It was a masterful stroke, turning former rivals into wary allies bound by a common interest in the crown's stability. Next, she addressed the high priestess. The woman, humbled and shamed by her role in Valerius's plot, offered her resignation. Aurelia refused it. "Your faith was manipulated, not malicious," the queen declared, her voice echoing in the grand temple. "Redemption is not found in exile, but in service. Purify this temple not just of its tainted incense, but of the blind dogma that allowed deceit to fester." The high priestess, given a path to restore her honor, became one of Aurelia's most fervent supporters, preaching a new doctrine of discernment and inner truth over outward displays. Elara, whose loyalty had been a solitary light in Aurelia's darkest days, was named Mistress of Whispers, tasked with creating a new intelligence network loyal only to the queen. Her agents would not trade in perfumed pleasantries, but in hard truths, ensuring no plot could again take root in the shadows of the court. Master Theron, the outcast alchemist, was brought back from the wastelands and named Royal Alchemist. He was given a state-of-the-art laboratory, not in a remote tower, but in a wing of the palace itself, a symbol that knowledge, even the unorthodox, had a place of honor at the heart of the kingdom, that it was during the trials of Valerius's co-conspirators that the true, terrifying scope of the conspiracy began to emerge. A seized ledger, written in a complex code that only Theron could decipher, spoke of more than just the corpse lily. It mentioned other blooms of subjugation, the gilded poppy that induced a euphoric compliance, the silent orchid that stole a person's voice, and the weeping rose that plunged its victims into a deep, unshakable melancholy. The payments for these ingredients were not made to simple smugglers, but to a shadowy organization known as the Viridian Cartel, a group that seemed to specialize in the horticulture of dark alchemy. The chilling realization dawned upon Aurelia. Her curse had been a field test. Confirmation came a month later. A report arrived from a northern province, detailing the bizarre behavior of a typically boisterous and argumentative duke. He had suddenly become placid, agreeable, and strangely content. His personal scent, once a sharp, earthy aroma, now an unervingly sweet and cloying fragrance. Aurelia and Theron exchanged a knowing glance. It was the work of the gilded poppy. The fight was not over. Her victory had not ended the threat. It had merely revealed its true face. The Viridian Cartel was still out there, its poisonous bouquets available to anyone with enough coin and malice. They had tried to fell a queen. Now they were content to puppet a duke. How many others in positions of power across the land were already under their silent, fragrant influence? That evening, Aurelia stood with Theron in his new laboratory. Before them, suspended in a crystal vial of preservative fluids, was the preserved heart of the corpse lily. She no longer looked at it with fear or revulsion. She looked at it with the steely gaze of a strategist studying a map of enemy territory. It was a key. "They used my affliction as a weapon to try and destroy me," she said, her voice low and steady. "Now my knowledge of that weapon will be the shield of this kingdom." She had entered this ordeal as a victim, a queen defined by a repulsive scent. She emerged as a protector, a ruler uniquely qualified to hunt down an invisible enemy. The moniker they had given her in contempt was now a source of strength. She was Aurelia, the queen who had walked through the valley of stench and decay, and had come out stronger. She would forever be the queen who understood the power of poison and the resilience of the human spirit. She was, and always would be, the stinking queen, and now it was a title she wore with pride. It was a promise to her enemies. She had smelled the worst they had to offer, and she was not afraid. The era of fragrant diplomacy was over. The age of alchemical espionage had begun. Queen Aurelia's counsel herself, the shrewd Elara, and the brilliant Theron became them secret heart. Their war room was not filled with maps of troop movements, but with botanical charts and molecular diagrams. Theron, energized by his newfound purpose and resources, worked relentlessly. The preserved corpse lily heart was his Rosetta Stone. By studying its corrupted properties, he began to understand the fundamental principles behind the Viridian Cartel's work. He developed what he called an alchemical nose, a series of small crystalline vials filled with reactive liquids. Each vial was keyed to a specific floral poison. In the presence of the gilded poppy, one would turn a faint gold. The silent orchid, a milky white. The weeping rose, a deep sorrowful blue. It was a crude but effective detection system. Meanwhile, Ilura's network of whispers spread throughout the kingdom. Her agents were not soldiers or nobles, but gardeners, maids, and merchants, people who were invisible to the powerful, who overheard everything and saw all. It was one such agent, a stable boy in the northern duchy of Oakhaven, who confirmed their fears. He reported that Duke Cashin, a man known for his booming laugh and fiery temper, had become as placid as a sleeping hound. His once sharp, earthy scent of pine and leather was now gone, replaced by an aroma so sickeningly sweet it made the horses shy. The council convened. Theron's alchemical nose, tested on a cloak sent from the Duke's castle under a trade pretense, had glowed with a faint, telltale gold. The gilded poppy, Theron confirmed, his voice grim. It doesn't just make him agreeable. It erodes the will. He is a puppet, and someone is pulling his strings. Ilara laid a parchment on the table. "This is Lyra," she said, pointing to a sketch of a severe-looking woman. "She arrived in Oakhaven 2 months ago as a trade advisor. Her credentials are forged. She came from the south, a region known for its rare orchid farms, and a suspected hub of cartel activity. She is never far from the Duke's side." Aurelia looked at the sketch, at the reports, at Theron's vials. A plan began to form, one that made both Ilara and Theron uneasy. "I will go myself," Aurelia announced. "Your Majesty, it is too dangerous," Ilara protested. "Send a team, one of my whispers." "They do not know what I know," Aurelia countered, her voice calm but unyielding. "I have felt the influence of a poison that sought to control my very essence. I know the vacancy behind the eyes, the false peace of a mind that is not one's own. I will see what your agents, brave as they are, might miss. Lyra will be watching for soldiers and spies, not for a humble perfume merchant." And so Queen Aurelia became Aleni, a merchant from a small, insignificant guild seeking new botanicals in the rugged north. She traveled with a small, unassuming caravan, her royal guard disguised as drivers and porters. Tucked into her merchant's satchel, amidst samples of common lavender and bergamot, was a pressurized atomizer containing Theron's newly developed antidote and a discreet bracelet strung with the alchemical nose vials. The court of Duke Cashin was deeply unsettling. It was not a place of fear, but of an eerie, unnatural tranquility. Courtiers agreed with every pronouncement. Guards stood with placid smiles. The vibrant, often argumentative court Aurelia remembered from state visits was gone, replaced by a silent, smiling tableau. And at its center was Duke Cashin, his eyes gentle and unfocused, nodding pleasantly as his advisor, Lyra, spoke for him. Lyra was everything Ilara's sketch had promised, sharp, intelligent, and radiating a controlled authority. Her personal scent was a powerful wave of tuberose, so overwhelming it was clearly designed to mask any other fragrance around her. During a formal presentation of Elene's wares, Aurelia watched her carefully. Lyra was the puppeteer, her subtle gestures and leading questions guiding the Duke's every word. Aurelia knew a direct confrontation was impossible. She needed to get the antidote to the Duke, and she needed to confirm Lyra was the source. She requested a private meeting with Lyra on the pretense of offering her an exclusive scent not meant for the general court. In the advisor's chambers, Aurelia opened a special box. "This is a unique one," she said, her heart pounding. "It is a mood scent. It reacts to the wearer's own disposition." She presented a vial of clear liquid. It was a harmless but clever concoction by Theron. It was designed to amplify the base notes of any other fragrance it came into contact with. As Lyra, intrigued, leaned in to smell the stopper, Aurelia glanced at her bracelet. The vial for the gilded poppy was now glowing, a bright, damning gold. It was a faint aura, but it was undeniable. The poison was on Lyra's person. Now for the Duke. Aurelia managed to secure a brief audience with him. With Lyra present, of course. She claimed to have a rare vaporous incense, a breath of the mountains that would invigorate him. Lyra, confident in her control, allowed it in the Duke's private study. Aurelia placed a beautiful copper burner on the table, but instead of incense, she discreetly placed the atomizer inside it. With a soft hiss, a fine invisible mist of the antidote filled the room. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Duke smiled his placid smile. Lyra watched, a smirk playing on her lips. Then, Duke Cassion's eyes blinked. He frowned, a flicker of genuine emotion. He coughed, a dry rattling sound. The smile vanished from his face, replaced by a look of profound confusion. He looked at his hands, then at Lyra, and the fog in his eyes began to burn away, replaced by the fire of his old self. You ... He growled, his voice a low rumble of returning fury. Lyra's face went pale. She turned to flee, but the Duke, his strength returning in a rush of adrenaline, grabbed her arm in a crushing grip. The tranquil court of Oakhaven erupted into chaos as the Duke's true voice, roaring with betrayal and rage, echoed through the halls for the first time in months. Under interrogation, the terrified Lyra confessed everything. She was a low-level operative for the Viridian cartel. She didn't know the leaders, but she knew how they moved their product. Their main distribution point was a clandestine, high-stakes floral auction held once a year in the lawless port city of Silver on the Soul. It was a den of thieves, pirates, and disgraced alchemists, a place where one could buy anything from a common rose to a bloom that could bring a kingdom to its knees. The next auction was in 1 month. Aurelia returned to her capital, not just with a rescued duke and a powerful new ally, but with a destination. She faced Theron and Alara, her eyes shining with a hard, brilliant light. We have been reacting to their moves, she said, her voice ringing with newfound purpose. Now we will make our own. Theron, I need you to create not just antidotes, but mimics, scents that will confuse and deceive. Alara, I need to know everything about Silver on the Soul. The players, the powers, the escape routes. She paused, taking a deep breath. I was a queen hiding from a scent. Then I was a merchant hiding my face. At this auction, they will meet Queen Aurelia of Aeridor, and they will learn what happens when you try to poison a garden that is under my protection.